These were some of the sounds that made up a percentage of my childhood. As a kid, the most prevalent arcade games to me at the time were House of the Dead 2, Tekken, and Street Fighter. It was during a time when my local arcade still housed the titles, and every time I'd go to the mall, I'd get a chance to play them. I still remember being too short to see the House of the Dead 2 cabinet and had to stand on a little stool in order to see. And when it came to Tekken and Street Fighter, I'd always pick the character that resembled Bruce Lee. Law from Tekken, Fei Long from Street Fighter. That all changed when I got my very first console for Christmas, which was the PlayStation 2 Slim. And eventually the arcade became somewhat of a memory. This is when I brought the arcade experience home and didn't have to insert coins in order to keep myself satisfied. Meaning, I could die to Heihachi and Jinpachi as many times as I needed without wasting a token. Although I'll admit, while I could play titles like Tekken 5 from home, I couldn't exactly play a light gun shooting game because my 6-year-old brain assumed those types of games only existed in the arcades and nowhere else. So if I ever went to the mall, I'd skip out on everything else except House of the Dead 2 or Time Crisis 3. From a very young age, video games, and movies of course, were the two biggest parts of my childhood, and I guess you can say it still somewhat is. But as a kid, it never occurred to me that video games could be adapted into movies. The idea that you could see your favorite characters in movie form doing the moves you see on the screen was mind-blowing. Imagine the surprise I got when I saw that scene in City Hunter with Jackie Chan. But I'm not here to talk about City Hunter. I'm here to talk about Future Cops! We begin in Hong Kong in the year 2043, where in this universe, Stephen Chow is still making movies. Ah man, if only. He only directs nowadays. The news in 2043 is reporting about a criminal named the General who has been arrested for his crimes and is awaiting trial in 3 days. Off to a great start already. And in case none of you put 2 and 2 together yet, that's M. Bison. And immediately after that, we are thrusted right into the action, where a jeep is being chased by a group of future cops. See what I did there? It is then revealed that the eye-patched man fleeing the scene is Tai King, aka Sagat, one of the 3 henchmen of the General. Hold up! As I was writing the review for Future Cops, I just made the realization that we never get a version of Balrog, Cammy, DJ, T-Hawk, or even Fei Long in Future Cops. I can understand not having the last 3 characters I mentioned not be included, but no Balrog? When he clearly was in the original roster? You know what, let me fix this. Yeah! Much better. Okay, back to the review. Tai King, aka Sagat, flees from the cops and warns his allies Kent and, get this, Toyota! Oh, I'm sorry y'all, I can't even. Tai King warns them about how the General will be sent to trial within a week by a judge named U.T. Hung, and in order to prevent the General from being thrown into prison, they plan on using a time machine to travel back to 1993 and brainwash the judge when he's still young. This is when the Future Cops arrive. Lung, Ah-Sing, Broom Man. Ugh. I'll just call them by their Street Fighter names. Ryu, Dalsum, Guile, and Vega arrive on the scene, and soon the fighting begins. Props to them for shouting the moves in Cantonese. This pretty much sums up footsies in Street Fighter. Gotta watch out for Guile's double sweep. Should have done what every Ken main on Street Fighter V does in EXDP. Let me remind you, this is an action comedy using the likeness of Street Fighter characters, and the movie will go over the top a lot with its humor. Although I'll guarantee it's heaps better than that other movie. The display of each character's popular moves are shown in a goofy and ridiculous way in live action, but in my opinion I'd say those 2 aspects help translate and display just how ridiculous, but also how cool these moves look. The fight breaks up as M. Bison's henchmen head for the time machine, which then fucking explodes. Luckily for our future cops, some debris of the time machine is left behind and tells them when and where they have gone. They regroup at their headquarters and their superior tells them about how they figured out that M. Bison's henchmen plan to travel to 1993 to confront Judge U.T. Hung when he's younger in order to prevent M. Bison's arrest. So, in order to prevent this, Beer Belly Dalsum, Chinese Guile, Guile and superhero Vega are to be sent to 1993 to protect the younger UT Hung. Their superior tells them about how people like to lie in the past, so in order to prevent them from lying for some reason, they have a chip in their brain that won't allow them to lie or else it'll shock them. Well, this is quite a bit of contradiction. If the movie's playing by Back to the Future time travel rules, aka grandfather theory, wouldn't they want to keep their identities as future cops a secret? I mean, imagine all the butterfly effects this could all have if they can't lie about their identities. Well, whatever, Ryu's getting a back seat to this movie, so I'm already mad. We travel to the year 1993, where we arrive at a school and are introduced to a high schooler named Tai Hung, but I'll refer to him as Tai for short in this review. Tai's day is going along well. He's brought balloons by his girlfriend Choi-ne. She asks about his zodiac sign and tells him he's going to have bad luck for whatever reason. What, because the stars align and say so? Tai finds a lucky dollar on the ground until... the school bully Kaon pranks him and the dollar becomes unlucky. I don't know what's up with Kaon's ridiculous hairdo, but something tells me he was the inspiration for Yoon and Yang. Also, can I please have a cool guitar riff play every time I do something badass or wacky? Class begins for Tai and Kaon. Wow, what a surprise! The student and bully sitting by one another in a movie? Surely nothing bad ever happens. But Tai soon has enough and decides to stand up for himself. Yeah. The movie went from sci-fi action to CW special really quick. While it seems like two different movies in one, Tai will play an important role later on in the film to the future cops. As punishment for accidentally hitting the headmaster with the homemade mace that he somehow pulled out of his ass, he's forced to clean up the school grounds by hand, which is where he meets this lovely girl named Xu Wei, and she wants to chat with him after school because he's special in her eyes. You know what I'm saying? Fucking each other. Tai, get yourself together. You already have a girlfriend. The two meet after school for a study session. As soon as a scene straight out of a Hub film is reenacted, she asks him about wanting to know about his thing. Cringe! Because they're studying anatomy. But Tai is too shy to do so, and Shu is about to leave. Tai Simpson does an impression of a Greek statue, until Kaon barges into the biology room with a camera and a gang of students who spray him with silly string. Turns out Xu Wei is Kaon's girlfriend, and he threatens to beat up Tai if he shows up to school the next day. Man, Tai just can't catch a break, can he? All of this in one day? What the hell am I saying? This must be every day for him. Tai arrives home to a picture of a goddess. Fuck! Where was I at? Tai arrives home to find a life-size picture of his sister outside his house, and suddenly one of her ex-boyfriends pops out from behind it. Chun-Li? Wow, that was not subtle at all. We're introduced to Tai's family next. His mom, who's a zen but also overprotective mother, and his sister Chun-Li, who I don't think we need an introduction to. His zen mom tells him to chill out and breathe in all that positive energy to release the negative, but he still feels like shit from his day at school and being a 28-year-old high school student. His sister then insults him for not growing up and being born a loser, which pisses off Tai and they get into an argument. A repair guy comes over. Jesus, what is up with all the porn innuendos in this review? A repair guy comes over to help fix their pipes, while the siblings are fighting in the background in a true Tom and Jerry fashion. Long story short, Chun-Li wins. Always. Then this happens when Tai's mother is trying to tell the repairman about their pipe leaks. I understood that reference. After that whole debacle, Tai is in his room writing his will and attempting I don't know if I could even say that on here on YouTube. After that whole debacle, Tai is in his room writing his will and is attempting to skydive into a permanent coma until his girlfriend shows up at his house, and he decides maybe it's not time yet. Choi-ne tries to help out Tai in school stuff, but Tai just complains and drones on about not being good enough at anything and having to deal with Kaon. Then they get it on. I'm just kidding, they don't. Later that night, Tai is drinking his heart out and shouting about how he doesn't need school. He then tosses a can out into the sky as a middle finger to God, and God answered. The future cops then arrive at his house. They introduce themselves as future cops from the year 2043, and Tai immediately runs for his life. Okay, if a Chinese Guile, fashion designer Dalzim, and Party City Vega arrived at my house, I'd surely run for my life too. Can't blame him. Vega then discovers that Tai goes to the same school that Judge Yu Hung would go to, and they try to calm him down, but to no avail. Tai eventually calms down and hears them out. In exchange for helping the future cops find Yu Hung, they will give him whatever he needs. Tai immediately makes some high demands, but Vega brings up a great point. Instead of meeting Tai's demands of 3 women, money, and being 3 feet taller, Dalzim, Vega, and Guile gift him, and I quote, "We can help you say, not being bullied, you will get an A in every subject, and every dream will come true." I like the first 2, but that last one is just vague. What if Tai's dreams is to become a mistranslation of another mistranslated character? That joke will make sense later. His mom abruptly comes home with a guest date, aka Uncle Richard, and asks him to go to sleep or else his allowance will get cut off. And his mom and her date tries to get some sexy time to the tune of lullabies for some reason. The future cops interrupt her every moment, which causes Uncle Richard to nope the hell out of there. Vega informs Tai that they only have 14 days to find Yu Hung before they have to return to the future, but Tai is still too afraid to go back to school and face Kaon. That is until Guile tells him to bring along a friend. Sweet, sweet revenge. Meanwhile, Guile and Vega are left in Tai's house starving to death because... Okay, enough. Guile and Vega are starving to death because Chun-Li hasn't left the house, and the two eventually say screw it and make their way downstairs to snack. Sheet metal and plastic must be the new eggs and bacon of 2043. Chun-Li then re-enters the house, only to find this. Thankfully, Tai comes home in time before... Whoa, chill bro, chill!
Well, that's
one elaborate backstory. Chun-Li then offers Tai's friend to be her servant, in which Vega accepts in order to not have his cover blown. Not willing to survive in secret, Guile and Vega play a game of rock, paper, scissors in order to determine who gets to be the student and who gets to be the teacher. The result? Kaon tries to pick on Tai again, but this time he's got Vega at his side and gets the better of him once more. And just when you thought it was over, another bully supposedly worse than Kaon arrives on the scene too, but Vega makes quick work of that too. Did I forget to mention Guile is not only a badass soldier, but a physicist, biologist, chemist, music teacher, and a player too? Also, I guess he did really go home and be a family man. So far, the movie has just been a cycle of high school revenge and romance, with nothing interesting aside from our titular Street Fighter characters being placed in that high school CW setting. But let's skip forward to when things get really interesting. We are nearing an hour into the movie. We see Kaon at the arcade, where he's greeted by some fellow future dwellers willing to assist him with his school problems. Guile later talks with the headmaster in order to find out if the school has a student named Yu Hung, only to discover that a student with that name does not exist at all. Unbeknownst to Guile, Ken, Sagat, Ihanda are already at the school, hot on the trail of finding Yu Hung. Ken, now disguised as a teacher, tranquilizes Vega to slowly mentally de-age him, and steals Guile's date in one entire school day. Ken Masters, more like Mr. Steal Your Girl, Ken pretends to go on a date with K-on's ex-girlfriend in order to get information on who Yu-Ti-hung is, until Guile appears to help her and get the antidote for Vega since he was tranquilized by his de-aging needles. This is when the very first fight happens. No, this is all wrong. Let me fix this. Guile loses the first round, but with the power of love, he gets back up for round 2. Wrong theme! Better. Guile defeats Ken, but instead of killing him, he begs for the antidote and is denied. We shift the focus back to Vega and Chun-Li as lovers on a merry-go-round. Jesus, that line sounds weird as hell given what happened in the anime movie. Guile arrives to see how Vega's condition is, only to have Ken arrive on the scene once more. Not to attack, but to cure Vega with the antidote, since he, quote, owes Guile a favor and will repay him, end quote. Must be some history between Ken and Guile that was never established. Could also be a mistranslation in the subtitles too, I guess. Back in 2043, a certain general is awaiting his freedom, until suddenly 2 minions arrive to free him. This is when M. Bison vows to finish his mission of killing Yu-Ti-hung. Back in 1993, everyone's celebrating Ty's birthday, even K-on. And remember Uncle Richard from earlier? Well, they're getting married now, so now the children must be renamed as part of Uncle Richard's family tradition. Therefore, he is no longer Tai-hung, he is Yu-Ti-hung. You didn't see that coming? Discovering that he's the judge the future cops and future criminals are looking for, he mentally breaks down while K-on, who's in cahoots with the future criminals, overhears the reveal of who Yu-Ti-hung really is. K-on returns to the future criminals to give him the good news that Tai is really Yu-Ti-hung, only to discover that M. Bison has appeared and is not just looking to scramble Tai's brains anymore, but to get his complete revenge by making Tai/Hung suffer and kidnap the one he loves. The next day, M. Bison appears at the school and holds it hostage in order to force Tai to come out. Ken begins to question his superior's motives, and M. Bison basically tells him to fuck off. Back at Tai's home, Chun-Li arrives to bring news to them that the school is in danger, only to see that the entire gang is suited up and protecting the cowardly Tai. Guile reassures him that he can get powers like them if they put a futuristic computer chip in his brain. Chun-Li is the first to get one. That does not look like Chun-Li at all. Looks more like Juri. Tai then mans up and accepts it, but his computer chip is the size of a softball. His powers don't activate like Chun-Li's, because according to Dalsum, computer chip powers can only activate through courage, but Tai isn't courageous. Well, not yet at least. As he prepares to run away, Tai comes across his girlfriend's shirt that she knitted for him as a gift, and he begins to flash back to the future cops, promising all his dreams to come true, and brings him to an epiphany to grow some cojones. Back at the school, M. Bison waits for Yu-Ti-hung to arrive, and when Ken questions his motives once more, M. Bison has enough of his shit and tosses him aside. The police arrive with a SWAT team to negotiate with M. Bison, but he sends off his minions along with E. Honda and Sagat to handle them. But no need to fear, Tai is here, and somehow got his hands on a military scooter board from the future. He manages to save the police, but celebrates a bit too early. Next up, Chun-Li versus Sagat. You know, this fight could have been a lot easier if you zoned her out with Tiger, uppercut. Chun-Li is about to get whooped until her mother, the real Chun-Li, or Chun-Tai, arrives. She gets her ass handed to her too, but then both team up on him by spamming a never-ending spinning bird kick and cheap light kicks. The future cops then finally go head-to-head with M. Bison, and what ensues is a bunch of light attacks until Vega and Guile are knocked out. Now it's only Dalsum, and he attacks with a yoga fire, but that move is meaningless! The future cops are getting their asses handed to them until a giant beach ball rolls up on Bison! Just kidding, it's Blanca. And they make use of him in a hilarious way by playing a game of soccer. And just as they're about to finish off Bison, Vega decides to take the center stage and kick it at Bison, only to fucking miss! Meanwhile, E. Honda's looking for Tai, only to discover... Remember when I said mistranslation of a mistranslated character? Yeah, this is what I meant. Quick trivia. Akuma's called Goki in Japan, but I have a feeling there was a mistranslation here with a Cantonese production, and the writers just said, fuck it, his name's Goku. Who knows, could be an intentional joke. Akuma's called Goki in Japan, so, you know, Goki, Goku, it almost sounds the same. We bring our focus back to the future cops, who are still getting their asses kicked by Bison, until Chun-Li and Akuma/Goki/Goku arrive on the scene. Oh, and Ken joins the future cops. And with their combined efforts, they hold down Bison, drill a hole in his chest, insert a bomb into it, and blow him up, ultimately defeating him. After defeating Bison, the future cops' 14 days are up, and they say their goodbyes before returning to the future. Until suddenly, Ryu decides to make an appearance and warn them with a sequel bait villain named Super Saiyaman or some shit like that, which I will just assume is either Seth or Guile. However, the future cop says, screw that shit, let's have some fun, and we end with the cinematic freeze frame of all the characters cheering. And that was the very first Street Fighter live-action adaptation, Future Cops. I can wholeheartedly say it is faithful to the characters' gimmicks and their looks to a certain degree, and is able to give you a very fun watching experience, even if it is an uneventful movie. Some of the iconic moves are shown in the movies, and even some of the video game sounds sneak their ways into the fight scenes at times. This is one of the movies you watch because it's so bad that it's good, or as how some would say it nowadays, you only watch it for the memes. I rate it 4 Super Saiyan Akumas out of 10. Next up on Fighting Game Movie Month,
get ready for the next battle.
If you made it this far into the video, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you consider subscribing or donating to my Patreon, or following me on my social links. Have a good night, evening, or morning wherever you are, and I hope you enjoyed the video.